Alright everyone, a few days ago I mentioned in passing that fundamentally liberals and Democratic partisans more generally in the United States right now they're basically praying for an economic collapse because it's probably the only way that they're going to be able to stop Trump from winning re-election. Like right now, if the economy continues to improve at roughly the rate it has been over the last year or so, by the midterms Trump's approval's around 45, maybe 46. The Republicans will narrowly maintain the House. They will probably gain a couple seats in the Senate. Right now, if it were held today, I would expect them to maintain the House by like a seat. And I would expect them to gain maybe one Senate seat. It wouldn't be a very great outcome for the Republicans. If, though, the trajectory remains the same, I would expect them to still have the House by 5 or 6 seats at the end of all things and to gain a second Senate seat. That's roughly what I would anticipate. If that happens, that's a victory for Republicans. It's not a victory for the Democrats. They'll crow about almost taking the House, and then people will point out that almost only counts in horseshoes, and that they actually lost power in the Senate, and now Trump can get his nominees for different slots confirmed much more easily. He can get his wall funding much more easily because they still control the House, at least narrowly, and it'll be a wash. The Democrats will get swept away in 2020. It'll be another red wave election in 2020. If the Republicans manage to maintain the House. At this point, I think I'm more pessimistic about the Democrats in 2020 than I was, some time ago. Because the expectation was, of course, if the Democrats don't manage to take the House and Senate, they reform as a party. The problem is the kind of talent required within the Democratic movement in order to groom a candidate to have a new platform to revamp the party. It's not clear they have enough time to do that now anyway. 2 years isn't that long in U.S. politics, to tell the truth. But Bill Maher came out, and he echoed exactly the same sentiment. He said it openly, and let me tell you something. Bill Maher, when he says this, is just being honest. I actually admire him for this. He's being honest and saying what all the Democrats are thinking, but they're not willing to say for political reasons, which is, hey, I'm kind of praying for an economic collapse because to stop Trump. I'm sorry if people would get hurt by this, but, that's really the best thing for it if we want to stop Trump is a recession right now. Well, there you go. One of the top liberal celebrities himself pointing out exactly what I said these people are thinking. And yes, Pelosi thinks the same way. Feinstein thinks the same way. Hillary Clinton prays to fucking Moloch or whatever every night. Please let there be a major economic downturn right now that'll stop Trump from being popular. See, the problem is they've cultivated an image of Trump that is, in the sense of propaganda, it is one-dimensionality. A one-dimensional villain. He is inept. He is corrupt. He's a sexist pig. He's got a tiny dick. Everything else negative about a human being that could be said, they want to apply to Trump. The fact, though, that he's good on money and jobs and wages, and inarguably so, is beginning to crack that consensus reality apart. That's why he's gained about 6 points of approval since his lowest slump, because of economics. And if he prevails with North Korea, they're shaking in their boots right now about this North Korea summit. I tell you fucking what. If he comes away from that summit with a peace treaty being signed, or at least a joint statement by North and South Korea, yes, we are officially working towards that, we just got to hammer out the details, he will skyrocket. They are terrified that he will break through their one-dimensionality. He's the only person who could hold that office and hold it for this long and actually rise at least mildly in approval despite a never-ending tidal wave washing over him of pure hate and propaganda. It's pure yellow journalism. These people endorsed his opponent. They hedged their bets on his opponent winning. They were wrong. They looked stupid. The public stopped trusting them. The entire corporate media apparatus and the never-Trumpers are just still pissed. They're still pissed, and very, very slowly, like with Lindsey Graham sometimes, or even now with Mitt Romney, you see them crawling back to Trump. They realize, well, hey, I was wrong. I stood on principle, but now it's time to very slowly make my way back into the fold, before the midterms completely destroy me. Mitt Romney knows better than to be a never-Trumper in the midterms. He fucking knows better. He knows better than to run on a platform of, hey, I'm going to obstruct Donald Trump. I'm going to obstruct the President of the United States for my own party. He knows it'd be such a terrible idea. And Arizona's not even like a pro-Trump state. It only went narrowly red in the last election. In all honesty, it was much more of a swing state to the point where, like, Nate Silver thought it was in play, and I'm like, no, it's not in play, but he's not going to win it by the same margin he used to. Or Utah, where Mitt Romney is running, same story. Arizona, Utah, New Mexico is more blue. Colorado is more blue. That region of the country, the only exception, oddly enough, is California. California looks like it's more in play now. You could end up with a Republican governor of California after this next election. It would be very funny if that happens. My goodness, the Democrats can't possibly crowave out victory if John Cox wins. I don't think he will. I think he still loses. But he's going to get close enough so that it's going to be like, oh, consensus California has begun to die, probably because people are noticing what a shithole San Francisco is turning into. Oh, you mean those hippies that run San Francisco into the ground so that rent is $1 million a year on a fucking doghouse? You mean that's not a viable way to run the country? Who would have fucking possibly guessed? And you have John McCain down there. John McCain, notably silent recently, hasn't really said much, hasn't released as many rambling tweets about how Donald Trump is the Antichrist now, is he? No, because he's looking at the RCP average, seeing it creep up, and he realizes that his best efforts have failed. But Bill Maher is just saying what the Democrats are thinking. You know, if these people were honest, if you administered a truth serum to Nancy Pelosi and asked her, do you hope that the economy collapses tomorrow? She'd say yes. Absolutely she would. Obama would come out and say, well, no, maybe not Obama. I think that part of him, Obama's an interesting character. I will say this. And he is intelligent. People saying he's dumb. No, he's corrupt, not dumb. Sort of like W was. Obama, at this point, I almost think hates the fucking Democratic Party for their kowtowing to the Clintons and willingness to throw him under the bus. Because a lot of his allies, other than the Bidens, his inner circle or something, a lot of them are like, oh, yeah, Clinton's right, Obamacare, it was kind of a mess, Clinton would have done better, it was her turn. So, and he's like, fuck you. He's like, I'm the new standard bearer of the liberal movement now that Bubba Bill is exposed, to the Me Too movement's ire, and he falls down 10 points. Now all of a sudden you come crawling to me. Fuck off. He's not even really campaigning for them. He'll put out a tweet. He'll mention the need for progress at some fucking graduation ceremony. Is he campaigning actively for most of these people? No. He's like, basically, hang yourselves. I don't blame the dude. Despite all the corruption and evil that he brought on the world and how much I hate him, the Democratic core is worse. Obama's actually superior to most of the people, like a Tom Perez or the Clintons or something. And it's funny to see them squirm because it's like, he's basically like, I don't owe you shit. I don't owe you anything, and I'm not like the Clintons. I'm not going to come race for you and then embezzle money because I don't want to be part of it anymore. It's too much trouble. It's more trouble than it's worth. Fuck off. I've got my legacy. I'm going to be remembered as a great liberal president, which is undeserved, but that's the way he's remembered by the left anyway. Bill Maher is being very honest. I admire his honesty. He's been consistent on a lot of these issues. It's just like on Islam. Maher comes out, and he gets called an Islamophobe for this, but he's like, hey, no, I'm not on board with it. I don't think that Islam is good. It's an organized religion. It's one that, it's sort of like the Bible. It talks about slavery and stoning and stuff. Well, then why the fuck are all my fellow liberals mollycoddling this one group of hyper-religious individuals? It doesn't make sense. Correct! You're being consistent. Most people on the left aren't. Most Democrats are not consistent on these issues. They lie all the time, or they don't say what they think. They lie by omission, by not saying what they really feel. He's surprisingly consistent. I don't agree with him on many things, but he's consistent about them. What about the drug war? I half expect a lot of Democrats to say that marijuana is the devil's weed, and we need to keep it banned because Trump signals that, yeah, I don't care if the states legalize it. Yeah, go ahead and farm hemp. Yeah, medical marijuana is fine. I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, cannabis banking. Oh, yeah, no problem with it. Yeah, you can give kids seizure treatment in the form of cannabis oil. It's fine. Give them pure THC bricks if you want. Yeah, they're going to come out and become even more moralistic. He's already maneuvered them into a position where they're pro-war. He's already maneuvered them into a position where they're pro-police state. They're the establishmentarians. They're typically, their candidates are, as a rule, generally older than Republicans now for the first time in, 20, 30 years. He's got them right where he wants them. He's got them stuck being the upper part of a dying paradigm. Not going to work well for them. It's the new era of Trump politics, at least for the foreseeable future, probably the next decade and a half or so. That's roughly how long in fact, this paradigm has dragged on longer than expected, simply because there was no alternative other than Ron Paul who really got the ball rolling. The libertarian movement burgeoning under Ron Paul cracked the Republican parties apart, began a schism that led to Trump. The Democrats haven't followed suit. The Bernie Sanders thing might morph into something like that. They'll try to create a synthesis candidate. I don't think it's going to work too well for them. But Maher is being totally honest. The Democrats right now hope that someone hauls off and nukes us. They hope there's an economic downturn. They don't want things to go well. They've hedged their bets on Trump being terrible for the economy, terrible for diplomacy, terrible for jobs, terrible in general on everything. They've told people for the last year, he's going to be horrible, he's going to fail. But he's not failing. Oh my God, they're panicking. It's almost the midterms. And they've gone from 13 points ahead when he was at lowest approval to only 3 points ahead and falling now. They might end up being, here's the secret, they might be behind in the generic ballot come the midterm day. They might be a point or two behind. What do we know about the midterms? The Democratic coalition of younger voters and LGBTs, they come out at lower levels. And in a lot of these races, it's in areas that Trump controlled handily, and he's crawling back up into the low 50s in some of these areas. The Republicans are at an advantage right now. They're slightly behind, but they are the ones rising at a clip that's fairly significant. You know, Trump has no problems. Maher is praying for a recession. And you got to understand, to these rich liberals, they don't care if there's an economic downturn. Maher makes millions of dollars a year. And if there's a depression, he's going to make millions of dollars a year. I make tens of thousands of dollars a year. And if there's a depression, I'll probably be making peanuts. Therein lies the difference. He doesn't fucking have to worry. His bank account is assured. He's probably got $50 million in the bank right now. How much do you think Rachel Maddow has? How much do you think that Joe and Mika have? All these people are rich beyond their wildest dreams. They got millions of dollars. They don't care. They can buy 10 acres and be a farmer if they want. You know, meanwhile, I'm stuck, you know, I had to rip out half the beets because they got some fucking wilt in them. I'm trying to save the rest of the plants because I know it can get into the tomatoes and I really don't want verticillium wilt in those. So, like, fuck the beets. That's about all. Peace out.